Okay, so let's start again with our 10-inch by 8-inch document. All right, you might want to reset your palettes. I'm going to go to Window, Workspace, Reset Essentials Classic. I'm going to put my tool palette in 2 columns. All right, put your tool palette in 2 columns. That's easier for me to tell you where the tools go. Okay, we're going to start by pulling up our 1-point perspective grid. Okay, we're going to go to View, Perspective Grid, 1-point perspective, normal view. Normal view means eye level. Okay, so here's what your grid looks like with 1-point perspective. Let's take a look at this grid. Go get your perspective grid tool. It's about halfway down on the right column. All right, now when you get the grid tool, it activates the grid, meaning you can edit the grid. So right here is the horizon line. That's where the earth meets the sky. You can take this and you can move it up and down. So depending on the viewpoint, do you want to be looking down like bird's eye? Do you want to be looking up like bug's eye? Okay, that's the horizon line. Here is the one vanishing point. We're in 1-point perspective. Here's our one vanishing point. Right now it's centered. You can pull the vanishing point to the left and skew it left. You can pull the vanishing point to the right and skew it right. Now this that we're looking at, that is the active perspective grid. That's going to be the side of your building or your cube that recedes into space. This is what's called the horizontal grid. This will be either the bottom of your cube or maybe even a road or a sidewalk. All right, and right now we would use this grid if we wanted to make a building to the left and have it recede to the vanishing point here. You could flip this. I'm going to take this gray dot right here at the end of the blue grid and I could just pull it. All right, and that is how I would make a building over on the right with the receding plane to the left. All right, you can also pull this grid up and down. It's really just a guide. The grid is not going to show up in your final artwork. So you can pull it up and down here, or you could pull it up and down at the bottom. By the way, you could make the horizontal grid higher like that, or lower. All right, now let's begin. We're going to make a cube below the horizon line. All right, so first off, what you're going to do, you're going to make sure you've clicked on the perspective grid tool. Take a look at this cube in the corner, this little mini cube. You've got to pay attention to this mini cube in the corner. It's going to tell you which plane you are working on. So right now, mine says left grid is active. It's highlighted blue. Left grid in 1-point perspective is the grid that will make it recede into space. But I want to do the front flat face. And remember, the front flat face has no perspective. So on the mini cube, I'm going to click the right-hand side and it'll say no active grid when you hover on it. Click it. We want the right side of the mini cube. We want no active grid. Go get your rectangle tool, choose a color to fill your cube, draw a rectangle that's going to be the front flat face of your cube that's below the horizon line. All right, so this is just a rectangle or a square. It has no perspective. All right, now it's time to do the side of it that recedes to the vanishing point. So go back to the perspective grid tool. Go back to the mini cube Click on the left side of the mini cube where it says left grid. Remember, left grid is active. That's how we're going to get perspective. All right, I'm going to get my black arrow and I'm going to click away. I don't want to select that one anymore. So black arrow, click away to deselect. All right, get your rectangle tool. I'm going to use a different color so that you can see it. Okay, once again, what have we done? I went to the perspective grid tool. I clicked on the left grid. All right, I deselected my previous rectangle. I've got my rectangle tool. Now, I'm going to hover right here in the upper right-hand corner of the cube, and I'm going to click and drag back and then drag down. Use your smart guides to line up the bottom. See that? So now I have the receding plane, and it's pretty far back. I dragged back pretty far. All right, so now we have the front flat face, and then we have the receding plane. And see how it matches up to that vanishing point on both the bottom and the top. All right, next up, this is a bug's eye view under the horizon line. We can see the top of this cube. So let's go do the top. We need to go back and get the perspective grid tool. We're going to go back to the mini cube in the upper left-hand corner. We're going to click on the bottom of the cube. It's called the horizontal grid. Now remember, a cube has both a bottom plane and a top plane. So on a cube, the bottom plane and the top plane are called the horizontal grid. Okay, so we're clicking the bottom of the mini cube, horizontal grid. All right, make sure you've clicked away to deselect that previous rectangle. Get your rectangle tool. I'm going to change color just so you can see it. All right, back with the rectangle tool. I'm going to go ahead and start on this outer corner right here. I'm going to click and drag back to the back left top corner, if that made sense. And there is the top of my cube that is receding into space. All right, let's do that again. This time, let's make one above the horizon line. Let's go get your perspective grid tool. Go grab the bottom of the grid, the gray dot. Swing your grid over to the left. All right, I'm going to actually make mine higher up because I want to do a cube up higher. Okay, to begin, we need no perspective. So, perspective grid tool, click on the right side of the mini cube that says no active grid. Get your rectangle tool. Let's draw the front flat face with your rectangle tool. No perspective on it, just a regular rectangle or square. Okay, let's go back to the perspective grid tool. We want to do the side that recedes. So we need the grid. Let's click on the left side of the mini cube where it says left grid. Okay, get your black arrow, click away to deselect that first square or rectangle. Let's get your rectangle tool, choose a receding color. All right, I'm going to start the top right corner and I'm going to drag down until my smart guides show me that I've met the bottom right corner. Okay, and now I've got the side that's receding into space. By the way, you can also edit this after you draw it. Go get your white direct select arrow, click away to deselect, and you can still edit. Like you can shrink this in. All right, click away to deselect. This is above the horizon line, so we can see the bottom of this cube. This is bug's eye view. We should be able to see the bottom. All right, so that's the horizontal plane of the cube. Let's go back to your perspective grid tool. Let's click on the bottom of the mini grid, bottom of the mini cube, which is the horizontal grid. Okay, make sure you've clicked away to deselect your previous rectangle or square. Grab your rectangle tool. I'm going to choose a different color so you can see it. I'm going to start at the outer bottom left corner, and I'm going to drag towards the inner right bottom corner to create the bottom of the cube. All right. So that was the below horizon line, above horizon line. Let's go ahead and do one on the horizon line. All right, on the horizon line, we need the front flat face. So let's go back to the perspective grid tool. Let's click on the right-hand side that says no active grid. Let's go ahead and draw your front flat face on the horizon line. All right, I'm kind of shifting mine to the left, by the way. So either shift yours left or right. Don't put it smack in the center of the horizon line. Okay, we now need the side that recedes to our vanishing point. Let's go back to the perspective grid tool. Let's go back to your mini cube, click on the left grid. All right, click away to deselect your previous rectangle or square. I'm going to get my color that I'm using for all the receding edges. I'm going to start here at the top, pull back, and down to the bottom. All right, and there's my cube on the horizon line. I can only see the front flat face and the one receding plane. All right, so those are our 3 cubes in 1-point perspective. Let's open up a new document and do this again in 2-point perspective.